Hello and welcome back to another video. And this time I'm going to give you an entry-level tutorial on how to start art in 2026. So I'd like to see art as phases. When I say art, like doing art, like drawing. So you have phase one. When you start to draw, first you gotta have that passion to draw. You want to do it for the love of the game, right? So to get used to drawing, first you gotta draw as much as you can, and then yeah, that will give you a feel to drawing. You're gonna get used to it, and for you to keep being motivated to do it, you gotta do it for fun. And let's just say that when you do all these three, always have a reference. A reference is, for example, you want to draw a cat, have a picture of a cat next to you and use it as a reference. Use it as a guide to how to draw cats. Because if you're trying to draw cats from imagination, you're gonna end up with something that does not look like a cat. Might look like something else, maybe a grandma. So that's phase one. You just wanna basically get it all out of the way. Basically pour your heart out into drawing. Then you have phase two of drawing. You're gonna learn art at your own pace. So this is something that you should be very careful with. You might start drawing at the same time with a friend. You might have a better start than them. Like for example, you can draw hands better than them at that point, and then like 3 months later, they're gonna be drawing hands way better than you. Even though you improved, they just improved faster at drawing hands. And then you look at your own art and you're like, man, am I like retarded or something like that? But no, everybody learns at their own pace. You just you're just one thought away from figuring out how to draw hands the way you want to. So if you're comparing yourself with others, do it in a, how do I say, positive way. By that I mean just say, oh, so I am at that stage compared to them, not just compared and you're like, oh, I can't draw. My drawing is worse. You drew better than me. Don't do that. It's not gonna help anybody. It's actually gonna push people away from you. So use sketches bases for learning. So when you're learning, hold on, let me get something real quick from Pinterest. When you're learning how to draw, try to use things or drawings that have grid lines. For example, excuse me, I'm gonna look for something real quick. I should have prepared that. Let me look for something that is not suggestive. Paste it right here. Here, zoom in a little bit. So you gotta have to learn from things that look sort of like this with the guidelines basically. Because it's easier and you get to understand what's happening much more easier compared to real life references like actual people, photographs. When you do that, you don't really understand what's going on. But with this, you'll get a general feel or idea of the human body because I am assuming that you want to draw humans. If you want to draw animals, same thing. Just look for a base of an animal. If you want to draw objects, I think objects is their own separate niche. So that's what I mean by use sketches and basis for learning, that it shows you the thought process of the artist on how to map out the subject. Watch artists at work. So when you want to get either motivated or you want to learn how to draw a certain thing, watch an artist at work. By that, I don't mean to watch an artist doing a tutorial on how to draw hands, because for some reason, when people draw something and they do a tutorial about drawing something, it's not the same. They don't do it in the same way they do. So when you watch someone at, you know, doing their work in their default mind default state of mind, and flow state type thing, like for example, you watch a stream of an artist drawing and they're really into their own craft. That's what you should be watching. when you watch them do that, especially starting from zero, okay, not just having their sketch layer already done and then they no, like from 0 to 100 basically. When you watch them go from step 0 to the final step, you're gonna learn a lot. You're gonna learn how to do stuff that you didn't know before, because the only thing that's stopping you from being better at something is just a thought process. Have artist friends. So this is one thing that you should never ignore. When you have friends or people you know that have the same hobby as you, or are in the same niche as you, you're gonna have a generally more pleasant experience than you would have when drawing alone. And I know that from experience. When I used to draw by myself, it was a little bit catastrophical, or what's the word I'm looking for? Not that great. And but when you have more people, or when you know people that draw and you compare each other's drawing, and you draw things together, you draw the same thing, and basically, just have artist friends, and you'll have a more pleasant experience doing art, especially as a beginner. Always use reference. I cannot stress this enough. Even if you're, I don't know, the John art, even if you're John art, you gotta always use reference, and unless you want to draw, how do I say, unless you want to draw something that doesn't exist. Phase 3. So phase 3 is generally the part where you can, when you are comfortable with drawing, you can probably draw most things that you want. You don't have that much resistance when doing it. So this is the part where you actually start to improve on a linear scale, or basically faster than you were in these two phases. So there is no cheating in learning. What I mean by that is that if you think a certain way will make you draw better, use it. If it, like, there is no, oh, it feels like cheating, oh, I think it's making it too easy. Like, I don't think there is a cheating in learning. If it makes you learn faster, you should do it. And if it doesn't, then you should probably stop it. Don't limit yourself. So, what I mean by don't limit yourself is that if you think it's cool to draw blindfolded, it is not. That stuff is not tough. Like, if you think making drawing harder will give you some cool points, it is not. You're just limiting yourself. Nobody's gonna be impressed by what you're doing, and if they do, they're just, they really don't want you to improve very fast. So do not limit yourself. Use every tool you can. Draw in your own way. So this is a very important thing. You don't have to draw in a way that, how do I say this, that is orthodox or used by most people. For example, the way I draw, I don't use line art to draw. I don't use line art to sketch. I use the lasso tool to do most of that. And I do it because that's the most comfortable way I feel. That's the most comfort I feel when drawing. So do not like do not force yourself to draw in a way that does not feel comfortable, or you feel like you're limiting yourself in any way. And always use references. So generally speaking, these three phases, as long as you like art, as long as you stay consistent with art, and don't limit yourself in any way, and you do what you like, then you'll be fine. And also have friends in the same niche. And also, if one of those friends is better than you, that's even better. They can be your mentor in art. So what do I have here? Okay, so personal opinions. So in my opinion, or in my experience, the artist that I watched that made me improve drastically is two people, Ethan Becker and Sam Does Art. For Ethan Becker, he does animation, so he knows how to improve the fastest. And Sam Does Art, he is an illustrator, so he knows the more detailed aspect of a drawing. So if you want to be if you want to improve your fundamentals, like really deep fundamentals, watch Ethan Becker. He has the one of the best art tutorials on YouTube. You cannot go wrong with watching Ethan Becker. And Sam Does Art. So the reason, the thing that made me improve at art from Sam Does Art is color theory. Because he's an illustrator, he has a very good way of using colors or painting in general. So when you watch him, make sure to pay attention to uh, the coloring aspect of the process. And the best thing is he shows his process, or at least a good portion of it. And one thing I have to warn you about his channel: do not watch the TikTok reactions if you want to learn something new. Only watch Sam Does Art when he does art, not when he does TikTok reactions. Trust me, I've watched every single one, and none of them actually gave me something to work with compared to his actual tutorials and when he actually draws. So if you see Sam does art doing art, if you see Sam doing art, watch. If you don't, if he's not doing the art, do not watch. All right, unless it's you want to, do entertainment stuff or feel entertained instead of learning, then really you can do whatever you want. So art medium, you have digital and you have traditional. So if you have digital, I would recommend digital art because it's more convenient. So how is it more convenient? First, you don't have to use paper, and you don't have to keep sharpening your pencil, or you don't need to buy art tools over and over again compared to traditional. The only thing you need in digital is a computer or an iPad. And if you have an iPad, then you need an application. Okay, let's take this a little bit too slowly, okay? Let's go slower. So if you have an iPad, let me illustrate. So you have an iPad, then you only need a pen and the application that is inside there. If you have a computer or a laptop, hold on, let me actually draw this out. How do you draw a laptop, bro? It's literally two shapes. So if you have a laptop or a computer desktop, then you need this, either a tablet that you can plug to your computer that has a pen, or a Cintiq, which is like basically a drawing screen that instead of like looking at your monitor here, instead of like looking here and your hand is here, you can have your hand and the pencil or the pen and your eye looking here instead of, your hand being here and your eyes being here, because it's less disconnected. And I always recommend to buy this. But if you want to go to the cheaper option, this is much better, especially if you're a beginner and you're tight on money. Because I'll be honest with you, if you really want to go expensive on your hobbies, but you cannot afford to, or you're gonna take a financial blow, or you're not gonna recover financially from it. I would recommend to start small and then use your hobby to get get this. If you want to upgrade your hobby, upgrade it using your hobby. So that's why I would recommend digital rather than traditional, because it's just more convenient. Literally convenient in all ways possible, but that does not mean that traditional is worse. No, it just means that if you're looking for convenience, do digital. But you cannot afford it, or you want to do traditional has more of a payoff to it, because you get to have your art physically in front of you instead of behind the screen. You get to actually look at it. What am I drawing? You get to actually, look at it physically. It's a tangible object, and it feels much nicer than digital. But that also is solved in digital by printing your own art. So art programs. So there is 3 art programs I would recommend to anybody, but there is more than these 3. So there's Clip Studio Paint, Photoshop, and Krita. Let me have the red pen. Clip Studio Paint, Photoshop, and Krita. So Krita is free. Okay. So if you're looking for a free program, this is your program to go. If you were looking for a paid program, then you have Photoshop, but I would not recommend Photoshop if you're not already using it, because Adobe paid subscription is dog water. Okay? If you don't already use it, do not go out of your way and buy it. Clip Studio Paint. It is personally the best program I've ever used, and I don't know if it has a one-time payment or they changed that, but if it has a one-time payment, buy it. If it has a subscription model, don't even bother with the subscription. And basically, if you want something free, Krita. If you want something paid, Clip Studio. If you want to, I don't know, be a nerd, you can get Photoshop. But I recommend Clip Studio Paint better because it's made for art. Clip Studio is just a photo editing software that has art features. Like if somebody tells you, oh, Photoshop is industry standard, brother, I don't think there's an industry anymore. Just use whatever program suits you. And also there's like programs like Leonardo. There is Paint Tool Sai. Personally, I started with Paint Tool Sai, but it was a little bit too complicated for me. There is also GIMP, I think. GIMP, MS Paint. I don't recommend MS Paint because, these programs are much better than MS Paint. But each one their own taste when it comes to these stuff. And also, Pure Reference is not an art program, but it's like, okay, so you have your screen, right? You have your art program, okay? You have your canvas, your color wheel, then your brushes here. Again, you have your drawing. Let's see, you have your drawing here. Okay, and then you have Pure Reference over here that has the reference, and it can be overlaid at all times, and you don't have to like open 20 windows in the art program to have that reference next to it. No, you can just have this overlay, just giving you the reference. And the best part about it, it's free. So this is free. You can't donate money, but if you want to be an artist, I just prepare yourself for financial ruin. I'm kidding. Don't prepare yourself for financial ruin. Don't quit your job, bro. Your art is not that great yet. Anyways, these are my personal opinion. What did I write over here? Oh yeah, so personal take. So this is like personal opinion in terms of like objectivity. So it's like an objective, subjective take. Where you can, this is what I would recommend. But this is like personal. So making drawing harder. So for example, going back here, if you think using MS Paint is cooler than using Leonardo, or Leonardo is cooler than Krita, or Photoshop is cooler than GIMP, or Paint Tool Sai is cooler than Clip Studio Paint, let's just say that you might have the wrong idea about art. So making things harder to draw, like for example, you're using MS Paint because it has less features and makes drawing harder, which makes you improve faster. No, it does not make you improve faster. It's just a niche way of drawing. This is a niche way of drawing. Everything here is a niche way of drawing. Okay? You think not using reference will make you improve faster because you're using your imagination. Brother, the reference is already in your brain. Okay? It's already in your brain. Hold on, let me draw that brain. It's a little bit small. Okay, your brain is small if you think that way. Okay, it's already in your brain because so here the reference is already here. You just distorted. It's not completely rendered in your brain, so might as well have it in front of you, so it, instead of being distorted in your brain, because it's going to your imagination either way, it's gonna be much clearer. So don't think not using reference will make you cool. Just makes you do things a lot slower than you would have done them. And yeah, that's the thing about making drawing harder. So drawing girls. Okay, let me tell you something about drawing girls. When you're drawing, you're allowed to draw anything, really. Like you can draw animals, humans, objects, environment. But these days what I see is people drawing girls exclusively, and when you tell them, "Oh, what else do you draw?" I don't know. I can't draw anything else. Buddy, drawing girls will not make you cool, okay? If you're drawing girls because that's what the audience want, I don't know, bro. You're probably like looking for attention with art, and that is not what you should be doing. So, if drawing girls is what you like, then sure, keep doing it. But you gotta be a little bit, original and have more personality to you, because just liking one thing, personally, I think is a little bit redundant. Not using refs. Let's go back to this point. This is so important, by the way. If you think not using refs is cool, it is not cool. It is not tough. Use the reference. It makes things easier. Even right now, I keep using reference. Like, even if I'm not drawing anything that is related to the reference, I still look at it. Even if I know what it looks like, I still use the reference. Why? Because it makes things easier, and it makes my art way better than it would have been without the reference. Monetizing your art. Oh, oh, oh. Hold on. How long have I been yapping for? 22 minutes. Holy shit. Monetizing your art. Arr, you trying to monetize that stuff, buddy. So, one thing you should know about monetizing your art is that commissions, doing comms, or commissions, is one way, but not the only way. Okay? And if you're learning to draw to make money off of it, it is really not the mentality you should be having. You can forget about it and have it later, sure, but if you're starting with that mentality, you're gonna still improve at art. You're still gonna be a good artist, but you're just gonna do it with extra stress, with an extra baggage. You're gonna feel bad about it if you're not making money, because you're associating money to your money equals skill. So we're basically doing this, which is a bad mentality, bad mindset. Don't do it at the beginning. You can do it later, but don't do it at the beginning. If you're looking for a job in the art industry, there is basically nothing I can tell you to change your mind, but just make sure to not associate making money with your art at first when you're starting out. Do it afterwards when you're actually good at it and you've cleared all the emotional baggage out of the way. So basically, that's it about monetizing your art. If you have success with it at the beginning, just be careful, because there are a lot of scammers when it comes to commissioning your art. That is a separate video that I will not make. There's people with better knowledge about it, because I never did a commission with money. I mean, I drew stuff for people, but not for money. I just did it for fun. Drawing for attention. Arr, so you want money and attention. Oh, you sneaky little. You evil, I don't know, drawing for attention is basically a no. No. You're drawing for attention, first of all, you're cringe. Okay. Second of all, you're cringe. Third of all, you might be cringe. I'm, just gonna say it. But on a serious note, if you're drawing for attention, then instead of correlating money with your skill, you're now correlating people's attention with your skill, which is not a good thing because art is subjective, right? And for example, maybe you draw a horse. Okay, that is not a horse. Looks like horse enough, and then you show it to somebody. Okay, you show it to somebody who, instead of being into horses, pause. He's actually into these creatures we call women. Okay, and then he says, I don't like it, or it doesn't look that good, or it doesn't give you an actual critique. He's actually, oh yeah, it looks good, and you're like, really, what's good about it? He's like, and then he starts, hold on, he starts drooling because he cannot form an opinion. Hold on, let me illustrate this better. Oh, okay, he has a buck teeth. He has a tongue here. Maybe his tongue is out because he's freaky. He's freaky like that. I mean, if you like women, you're definitely freaky. He's like, I don't know. So basically, do not associate people's approval with your skill level. Try to, I mean, I'm not saying you not to show the people. I'm just saying if they don't like it, don't think it's the end of the world because at the end of the day, you're drawing, and drawing art is a form of self-expression. It's like dancing, it's like making jokes, it's like talking. So if people don't like that, or they don't have the reaction that you were hoping to get from them, just do not associate it with your skill. Okay, if you're drawing something and you think it's cool, and you show it to people, they don't think it's cool. Not on a technical level, but like on a personal, subjective level, then don't feel bad about it. Forcing opinions. This is kind of ironic because I'm literally doing that right now, and actually I'm not. I'm not doing that. I'm not forcing you to think about anything. I'm just presenting you with an idea and letting you do most of the thinking. Uh, Basically, don't try to force your opinion on others. For example, maybe somebody wants to draw a horse like with a thick behind, and you're like, no, it should be thin. Maybe somebody wants to draw women fat. I don't know why you would do that, because they already are fat enough in real life. Okay, pause. Maybe they want them to draw them a little bit too thin. Maybe he wants to draw men a little bit too muscular than they are. Hold on, let me actually try to draw that. That is not how a body looks like. Maybe I should practice myself. Maybe he's drawing them more handsome than they are. And you're like, no, that's not how you draw them. No, that's not. Okay, listen, man. When it comes to art, just relax, man. Relax. Unless he's literally shoving it in your face, or they shoving it in your face to tell you that's how you should draw it. Then you can, bring out the opinions, because you can draw things however you want, the way you want, whichever you want, whichever way you want. It's really up to you. And have fun and be creative is the most important step, because having fun while drawing is a necessity. It is a must. It is a important condition if you want to continue. Because if you're forcing yourself to draw, then how about you just quit at this point? Like, it's not a job. Unless it's your job, then there's really nothing I can tell you. But make sure to have fun with it. Be creative. For example, if you're one of those people who like drawing a certain thing over and over again, at least be creative with it. For example, you like drawing women, okay? Okay, I really have a problem with people that just draw women. Okay, what am I drawing a woman like that? Okay, let's do the bathroom sign women. Okay, how about you be creative and put a twist on it? Maybe, uh, you know, give her a gun. Okay, maybe give her some really nice hair, like creative hair, like hair you've never seen before. Maybe, I don't know, make her at least do something, okay? Like, don't make her just pose for nothing. Like, maybe she's on top of the horse, and the horse is like, hey! Okay? She's like on top of the horse, saying, maybe she's a cowboy. She's a cowboy, and she got a gun. Okay, she's firing the gun. She has a lasso, because we know that lasso tool is the best tool in Clip Studio Paint and digital art in general. And yeah, basically try to be creative, okay? Just don't draw things, don't be stagnant, because when you're stagnant, that's when you're literally an object, okay? Don't be stagnant. Just try to try to give a twist to things, be creative, because when you're trying to be creative, okay, your brain, let me try to draw a brain. Your brain starts functioning and putting out fumes. And when your brain is working, you start to have more ideas in the future, and we'll have more smart people in the world. That is a good thing, because when you have a lot of smart people, you have a lot of good things going on, as long as they use it for the good things and not trying to invent a new way to be freaky. Collabs. So what I mean by collab, so let's say there is you, okay, that you can do art pretty well. Then there is this artist, okay, who has long hair, something like that, who can also do art pretty well. You're like always talking to each other, always drawing next to each other, you know. But like you never did a collab. You never tried to do a project together. You should always collab with people to create a masterpiece. Okay? A masterpiece that by yourself you would never have done. Or it would have taken you way too long. Or maybe you can have an idea you could have never had on your own. Or draw in a way you would have never drawn on your own. Basically, try to collab with people. Hold on, let me give this guy a mustache. Try to collab with people and make something original and make something new that you couldn't make by yourself. Try to push the boundary of your own creativity and art doing collabs. That's why you should have artist friends so you can do collabs with. Now, let's see the tracing part. Okay, you've heard of tracing, but not tracing to get a finished art piece, but no, tracing to learn, okay? So, this is what I do. I have a piece that I like. What I do is I trace over it, okay? I'm trying to see the structure. So I'm trying to see the structure, trying to deconstruct it through a process I like to call tracing, just to piss people off, but I probably should stop doing that, because I really want this to be the norm, or a popular way of learning. So basically deconstruct it, and then you try to learn or see or understand the subject a little bit more, a little bit more intimate, but I do it using the lasso tool. Okay, what the fuck is sending me a message? I try to do it with a lasso tool, and then I try to replicate it here, but this is a lie, because I did not replicate it without, tracing it. I just try to see how it would look like in this color, because sometimes I sketch like, basically in general, I sketch like this. I just sketch like this. I don't bother with two dual colors. I just sketch in one monotone color. So with lines as well, it's okay to deconstruct a face or a subject the way you want. So you basically you want you think you have you okay, I'm stuttering a lot. That was a joke. Yeah, tracing to understand the subject is not a crime. I even do it myself. Sometimes, like, I do it for fun, all right? I don't use it as a monetizable commission. I don't do it for money. I just do it for fun. Because if you're tracing and you're trying to sell that to somebody, I think you gotta make sure to let them know that this is what they're paying for. All right? Just for honesty's sake. It's not really about, tracing or not tracing. It's just be honest, because some people think that you're doing it in a certain way and you're doing it in another way. It's just for clarity's sake. So basically, I grabbed a drawing, I traced the body over it, and I had this picture of Azula in school uniform, and basically just did this. I repurposed the pose, the drawing, to make something new. So yeah, and not only I understood the pose, I also discovered a new way of doing things. And even professionals do it. Professional recommend doing this. This is Ethan Becker, bro. Ethan Becker is tracing real life stuff. You should also do that, tracing real life and seeing what kind of style will be born out of it. Always deconstruct stuff that you don't understand. And the tracing is not a crime. That's all I want to say. So this is my take on how to start art in 2026. You have everything that you need, and basically this video just went over everything you should know at first. Anything else you should discover by yourself, because you have a brain, you're a human, you have a human brain, and humans are very well known to uh, be smart and adapt naturally to phenomenons. So, yeah, you'll be fine on your own from now on. You can discover your own way of doing it, because that is the best way. You don't have to follow a specific way. You can use specific ways to add to your own way, which is one of the best ways to do it. So I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye. Alright, fellas, we are on day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We are on day 6, 7. That was 3 months ago, by the way.